You are back on the Mountain Morning Show, and we are talking books this morning. I'm so excited to introduce to you a local from Utah. We have Salt Lake City author Janelle M. Fowler. She's celebrating her nationwide release of her fantasy novel, The Twin Princes, the Daughter of the King. And I'm so excited to have you here this morning. How are you, Janelle?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Good. Wonderful. Thanks for taking the time to come speak with us. I'm excited to hear more about your book and about the actual publishing and writing process. So first off, this is your book right here, and this is actually the first in the series that you're planning on writing, correct?
Yeah, there's probably about 8 books I'm planning on.
Wow. Okay, so first off, what's kind of the plot? What can we expect as we delve into this first book?
You know, it's about a trio of teenagers. They're not much different than, you know, you or I were when we were that age. And they get transported into a new magical land, and they're there to help fight a ancient evil. And there's a lot of magic and swordplay and a whole new land that I've created. It's really
All these
exciting.
Awesome facts and little features that make a fantasy land so exciting. So you say that they're transported to a different place. Does this have any, I guess, connection to Earth at all, or is this a completely different
Well, no,
place?
They start out here, just like even this time
Park
period.
City?
Yeah, no, not necessarily Park City, but you know, America. This even to 2012. So it starts out with real familiar settings and then changes.
Well, Jill, tell me about one of your favorite characters. I mean, I'm sure you, as the author, this is kind of like your baby, and putting this together and letting others read it. But did you have a particularly enjoyable time putting together one of the characters?
You know, I gotta say, actually, the three main characters in the first book, there's Emily and Alan and Maria, and they're a trio of friends. They've gone through so much together, and they're actually all my favorites because together they're almost like one character. So, you know, and I got to show different sides of different struggles and tough times they've each had, and but if you look at them together, they're almost one whole person. It's really neat. I love it.
Janelle, where'd you get your inspiration from to put the story together?
You know, I read a lot. I've always read a lot. You know, I enjoy things like things by like J.K. Rowling and stuff like that, and just things I see, things I've read. Everything can be an inspiration.
And we were talking earlier, you had a dream, actually, that kind of sprung this idea upon you. How'd that happen?
It's funny now because the actual story now is so much different than the original dream was, but the original one, I woke up and I remember thinking, wow, what just happened? Where, you know, and I wrote some of it down, but over the time that I've been working on it, it's progressed into something completely different than the original dream was. But it started out from that first dream.
Wow, that's amazing. Pay attention to your dreams and get some good ideas from them. Maybe a book
Absolutely.
published out of it. Very cool. Well, Janelle, you weren't always considering becoming a published author. I mean, it's always been a hobby of yours, but you started off in a rather different direction.
Yeah, I originally wanted to be like a doctor. And, you know, I was a CNA for a while. I was going to nursing school, and then I got sick. I have lupus. It's an autoimmune disease. And that kind of changed things for me. I wasn't able to work in the medical profession anymore, and I was kind of like, wow, now what do I do? So I got the opportunity to pursue this hobby, which was actually, you know, something that I really love doing. And it was kind of a lucky thing for me. I got the opportunity, so I did it. Oh,
that's fantastic. And a wonderful story in terms of, you know, not letting something like that stop you from pursuing your other dreams and this hobby of yours that maybe you wouldn't have ever discovered in the way that you have now. So
absolutely.
It's maybe even a blessing in some ways. So
I like to look at it that way because, it was almost like, you know, kind of keep doing this,
go
and
this
then,
way. We want
and
you to
then
change
do it.
course.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess I'll be an author, and I'll publish some books while I'm at it. So very cool. Well, I'd like to know, like, the writing process. This is something that has eluded me oftentimes through college and even high school as I've taken English classes, and I've had what we would call writer's block, when I've had to sit down and write something. As an author, how do you deal with that, or do you?
Well, I've never actually had writer's block so far, but it's I don't know, I don't force myself to write. I find that if you try to make yourself do it, it's hard. I know there's times that I need to get stuff done and I need to sit there, and I might even sit there and stare at my computer for a while and not do anything. But for me, it's different things will spark my imagination, and I'll have to go write, and I'll spend hours just sitting there trying to get what came into my head out. So, you know, it's if it comes to you, just sit and do it, you know.
So are you the type that you wake up in the middle of the night and you have like a notepad?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I keep one in my purse. I have one by,
oh, wow.
yeah.
That all these things together create the story.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. So what do you enjoy most about writing?
Being able to share the things that I see in here, you know, because I just get so many vivid pictures and things that I see and imagine and stuff, and it's so amazing to me and wonderful to me, and to be able to share that with everybody is the best.
Excellent. Well, last thing, let's talk about the actual process of publishing. You actually weren't planning on necessarily being published, you just love to write, and so that's where your story came from.
Right. Getting published isn't easy. It takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of rejection. Sometimes you want to try and get an agent first, and that's not easy. You send out query letters, sample chapters of your book, and you get a lot, well, it's good, but you know, it's not quite what we want to do yet. And I just got lucky with Tate Publishing. They read it, they liked it, and they're like, hey, you know, it actually happened really fast. I was really surprised. But, you know, you got to be ready for them to, you know, for the rejection and not take it too hard. You know, I got a lot of no's before I got my yes. So you got to hang in there and not let it discourage you.
So along with that, and you might be saying the same thing with this for those budding authors out there, maybe even little kids that are watching this and thinking, oh man, I want to be able to write and publish a book, a fantasy novel just like Janelle has here. What advice would you give to kids out there?
The first thing is write. You know, so many people have been like, oh, I've got this great story in my mind, or I've always wanted to write, or I've always thought I could do this, you know, but nobody sits down and actually do it. The first thing you got to do is sit and write. Just write. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to critique you. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, nobody knows if it's good. It doesn't matter if your grammar's good. Just actually sit down, take the time to actually write it down first. That's the first step. Don't worry so much about the publisher, what's going to happen in the future. Just write the story first.
And I think that's, I guess, my experience. That'd be one of the hardest things about writing, is that fear of judgment, what other people are going to say about what you put on paper, because those, like we said, it's kind of like your baby. Those are your own ideas that you're putting out there for the world to see, and in this case, for the world to see. But I love that, how you say that, you know, just get down and write, because no one's going to, you know, open your computer and look at what you're writing. I mean, just put your thoughts down.
Yeah,
I love that.
because originally it's just for you, and if it goes beyond that, that's fabulous, but if you don't ever start, it'll never happen anyways.
I love that. Good advice. Get started somewhere. Very good. Well, Janelle, where can we pick up your book, The Twin Princes?
It is available on barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, my publisher, Tate Publishing, as well as my own personal website, daughterofthekingbooks.com.
All right. Very good. And when can we expect to have the next book? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah,
do you have a date?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm actually already about halfway into it, so soon.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm excited about it. Well, Janelle, thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Thank you for
Hope
having
you guys got some good advice out of that if you are interested in becoming published or just writing in general. So thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back after this quick break where I have a really fun check it out video to share with you guys. If you weren't here with us earlier, this involves a border collie and you won't want to miss it.